You were not taken against your will. You volunteered. And that changes everything. Every year, in the center of the most powerful city in the Western Hemisphere, people walked willingly up the steps of the Templo Mayor. They climbed 114 steps. They did not come back down. The temple walls were carved with serpents and skulls. Every surface declared its purpose. 200,000 people lived in this city, and they all knew what happened at the top. But the real story of Aztec sacrifice is nothing like what you were taught in school. The version most people know comes from Spanish priests who arrived after the conquest. They described a bloodthirsty empire of savages. Tens of thousands killed in a single day. Those numbers justified the conquest. They made genocide look like liberation. Hernán Cortés arrived in 1519 with fewer than 600 men. Within 2 years, he had destroyed the largest city in the Americas. And every account he sent back to Spain emphasized one thing. These people are savages. We are saving them. That was the story. And with that story, they leveled the city, burned the libraries, destroyed the temples. But in 2015, archaeologists started finding the actual bones. And the truth is stranger. In the shadow of Mexico City's cathedral, archaeologists uncovered something unprecedented, a tower of human skulls. Hundreds of them cemented together in concentric circles. The Huaytzompantli, the Great Skull Rack of Tenochtitlan. Spanish accounts had described it. But until this excavation, many historians thought the scale was exaggerated. It was not exaggerated. If anything, it was larger than the Spanish described. Current estimates place the total number of skulls in the Zompantli at over 10,000. The excavation continues to expand. Each season reveals new sections of the tower extending further underground. The tower was not built all at once. It was expanded over decades, each layer added during a new ceremonial period. But it was the DNA and isotope analysis of these bones that changed everything we thought we knew. Because the victims were not who the Spanish said they were. The Spanish account said the sacrificed were enemy warriors, captives taken in battle. The skulls told a different story. The Zompantli contained men, women, and children. Women and children do not appear in battlefield captive populations. Their presence means these individuals were not captured enemies. They came from somewhere else. Strontium isotope analysis of the teeth revealed where these people grew up. Tooth enamel preserves the isotopic signature of the water and food consumed during childhood. Some came from the Gulf Coast, others from Oaxaca, some from the distant Maya lowlands. Each tooth sample was processed through a mass spectrometer to isolate the strontium ratios. The data points were scattered across the entire known range of Mesoamerican geological signatures. The geographic spread of the victims matched the territorial reach of the Aztec tributary system almost exactly. They came from across the empire, and many of them came willingly. This is the part that modern audiences find hardest to accept. In Aztec theology, sacrifice was not punishment. It was the highest possible honor. Selected individuals lived as embodiments of the gods for up to a year before the ceremony. They were fed the finest food, dressed in the finest clothing, given attendance. For 1 year, you lived as a god. Then you died as one. The sacrificial knife was not a crude weapon. It was a sacred instrument crafted by master artisans. And chemical analysis of residues on recovered blades found traces of psychoactive compounds. The sacrificed were given mixtures containing morning glory alkaloids and other psychoactive plants. They were not fully conscious when they died. The empire made certain of that. The cut marks on the bones confirmed the method described in the codices, but the skeletal evidence also revealed something the codices never mentioned. Growth arrest lines in the long bones revealed periods of nutritional stress in childhood followed by recovery. These individuals had experienced hunger early in life. Then someone started feeding them very well. The bones tell the story of a transformation, from poverty to privilege to death. Many of the skulls showed signs of excellent nutrition and healed injuries. Bone density analysis indicated these individuals ate well for extended periods before death. Their collagen isotope ratios showed protein intake above the average for Aztec commoners. These people were being fed like royalty, because in Aztec society, they were. The Toxcatl festival was the best documented example. One young man was chosen each year. For 12 months, he embodied the god Tezcatlipoca. He walked freely through the city. He was given 4 wives. He lived in a palace. Musicians played wherever he went. On the appointed day, he climbed the pyramid steps himself. He broke his clay flutes on each step. He walked to his own death. And the entire city watched him do it. Archaeologists have recovered fragments of the clay flutes described in the Toxcatl accounts. The instruments were deliberately crafted to be broken, made for a single use, then shattered on the pyramid steps. The entire ritual lasted precisely 1 year. Every detail choreographed months in advance. But why? What made people accept this? The answer lies in Aztec cosmology. The universe had already ended 4 times. The Sunday Stone recorded this belief. 4 previous worlds, each destroyed by the gods. The current world, the 5th Sunday, survived only because the gods themselves had sacrificed their own blood to create it. Every 20 days, the priests performed ceremonies to ensure the sun would continue to rise. The Quetzalcoatl, the eagle vessel, was designed to receive the offering. Its open chest mirrored the human body. This was not an Aztec invention. Blood sacrifice had been practiced in Mesoamerica for over 3,000 years. The Aztecs inherited a tradition. The logic was simple. The gods bled for you. Now you bleed for them. Human blood was not violence for its own sake. It was fuel. Without it, the sun would stop moving. Tenochtitlan was a city of 200,000 people, one of the largest in the world in 1400, larger than London, comparable to Paris, a metropolis built on a lake. The city was built on an island and connected to the mainland by 3 massive causeways. Fresh water arrived through stone aqueducts. Waste was collected by canoe and used as fertilizer. The engineering was centuries ahead of contemporary European cities. Sections of the original aqueducts are still found beneath Mexico City streets during construction projects. Every male citizen trained for warfare from adolescence. The empire required it. Capturing enemy warriors alive was considered more prestigious than killing them in battle. The Flower Wars were arranged battles fought specifically to capture sacrificial victims. A warrior's social rank depended directly on how many captives he had taken alive. Sacrifice was embedded in the military promotion system. War, religion, and politics were not separate systems. They were the same system. This city fed itself through China paths, artificial floating gardens that produced multiple harvests per year. Everything about this civilization was sophisticated, including how it killed. The archaeological record now shows that sacrifice was deeply woven into every level of Aztec society. Of the 18 monthly festivals in the Aztec calendar, the majority included some form of ritual killing, but the scale was far smaller than the Spanish claimed. The math alone disproves the Spanish claims. 80,000 sacrifices in 4 days would require a killing every 2 seconds around the clock. Even the most generous physical estimates make anything above a few thousand impossible within the described time frame. But a few thousand is not zero. The practice was real. The bones confirm it beyond any doubt. Modern estimates, based on the actual bone evidence, suggest the Templo Mayor dedication involved hundreds, not tens of thousands. The Spanish inflated the numbers by a factor of 10 or more. And the reason is obvious. If your enemy is a monster, your conquest becomes a rescue mission. Every inflated number in every Spanish account served the same purpose, justifying the destruction of an entire civilization and the enslavement of its people. But here is the part that complicates the story even further. The children in the Zompantli cannot be explained by voluntary participation or theological honor. Age estimates from dental development placed several of the juvenile remains between 3 and 10 years old. A 3-year-old does not volunteer for religious sacrifice. The juvenile skulls were clustered together in specific sections of the tower. They were not randomly mixed with the adults. They had been placed deliberately in their own groupings. And the isotope data showed these children were not from Tenochtitlan. They came from tributary provinces, from conquered populations. Some researchers believe child sacrifice served a different function entirely, not cosmic maintenance, political terror, a reminder to conquered peoples of what the empire could take. The Aztec Empire was a tributary system. Conquered provinces paid tribute in goods and labor, but the most significant legacy was communal. And the findings suggest the descendants traveled from the distant territories. The adult volunteers who walked up those steps believed they were sustaining the cosmos. The children who were carried up those steps had no choice. In the tributary provinces, families lived under constant obligation to the empire. They paid tribute in cotton, cacao, feathers, jade, and labor. Aztec tax collectors arrived on schedule. Failure to pay meant military consequences. The burning temple symbol in the codices meant a city had been conquered and its people absorbed into the system. And that distinction matters because it means the Aztec system was not one thing. It was theology and politics fused into a single machine, and the bones cannot separate them. Today, the Templo Mayor sits in the center of Mexico City. The cathedral that replaced the Templo Mayor was built with its stones. And beneath both structures, the skull tower continues to yield new remains with every excavation season. Each skull is a person. Each person came from somewhere, and isotope analysis can trace them home. The picture that emerges is not of a city feeding on its own people. It is an empire drawing sacrifice from every corner of its reach. The Spanish were wrong about the numbers, but the practice was real. The volunteers were real. The theology was real. The political coercion was also real. Human sacrifice was not unique to the Aztecs. Archaeological evidence confirms the practice across dozens of ancient civilizations. What makes the Aztec case unique is the scale of the archaeological evidence and the depth of the written record. Every skull in that tower was a person with a name that we will never know. And the descendants of both the sacrificers and the sacrifice live in Mexico today. Modern Mexican culture carries echoes of these ancient beliefs about death and offering. Nahua communities across central Mexico continue to perform ceremonies at ancient sacred sites. The debate over how to present this history remains deeply contested in Mexico today. The Spanish called them monsters. The bones say it was more complicated than that. The past is never truly buried here. It surfaces every time the ground is open. History is never just one story. The bones always tell more than one. If you have watched this far, consider subscribing. The bones of Tenochtitlan are still being counted. The tower extends further than any current excavation has reached. And somewhere beneath the streets of one of the world's largest cities, more skulls are waiting. Sources and studies referenced in this video are linked in the description below.